Hi, everyone. This is Chris Doucette from CaringKind, here to welcome you to another week of CaringKind Live. We are streaming live from New York City. Today is a beautiful rainy day outside. I'm looking at the rain come down right now, but my window box of flowers looks great, so I'm feeling pretty good. I hope you're doing well and surviving this quarantine pandemic situation as well as can be. So today is Wednesday, August 19th at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in New York City. I am broadcasting live from our CaringKind studios in Queens, which is my apartment. This is my accent wall. I hope you like it. I did one and that was it. Everything else looks the same as when I moved in. Today we have a great show. We're going to cover some highlights that are relevant to CaringKind, and then we're going to have a really interesting conversation with Adina Segal. She is CaringKind's Jewish outreach social worker on staff, and she's been doing amazing work. And I can't wait to share with you the work that she's doing and how she thinks about Alzheimer's and dementia caregiving. So let's get right to it. Let's get right to the CaringKind highlights. The very first CaringKind highlight that I want to share with you this week is the Lorraine Halis lecture. On September 16th, via Zoom, of course, we are going to have our annual Lorraine Halis lecture. This year, it is called Creative Care, Transforming How We View Dementia Care, with Ann Basting, or Basting. I apologize if I got your name wrong. And she's a PhD, just came out with a new book. And this is going to be a really interesting lecture. We usually are capped in our seating capacity to about 100 people, but now because it's virtual, we can absolutely make room for you. So if you want to participate in this lecture and hear about what she has to say, then please register through our helpline. The link is in the show notes to this YouTube video or Facebook video. If you just click underneath the video, you'll see a couple of words that say show more, and all of the links that we're going to talk about today in the live stream are in the show notes below this video screen. So everything from CaringKind's walk page to the gala to social media and this Lorraine Halis lecture. You can register online for that lecture. It's always a good one. The next highlight that I'd like to share with you is that we launched a new program called Caregiver Champions. And Caregiver Champions is a new, it's a hybrid of all sorts of things. It's a donor recognition program. It is a society of ambassadors who represent CaringKind and Alzheimer's and dementia caregiving and advance our cause. So we had a great launch, and which was just last week. And I thought today in this week's highlights, I would share with you just a clip of our first meeting. I'm going to introduce you to Patty Gibbs, who's one of our volunteer leaders. And I'm just going to play a few seconds of audio, or video with audio, so you can hear what she has to say. So I'm going to share this application window here and share audio. Here we go. This is Patty Gibbs.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
The wizard behind the curtain.
I know. So I joined this group because I feel like anytime you're like on Eleanor's side of a fight, you have a really good chance of winning. Because she's a successful person in a fight that we can't afford to lose. To what Dick said is, if we don't change the trajectory of this, we never have a chance to get to the other side of the diagnosis, because there's always one more. So I've lost 4 people that I loved from Alzheimer's, starting with my great-grandmother, to my grandmother, to my mother, and to my husband, who was diagnosed at 50. And now my husband and I are taking care of my dad, who's 96 and in serious mental decline. So, as caregivers, we're really the only medicine right now. I mean, caregivers are the medicine. And so they need to be supported And while the disease, I think, is extremely complex, I don't think that what we need to do to fight it is so complex, which gets to why I joined, because I think we need money, and we all get why, like a vast amount of money for a vast amount of services and training. But we also need champions. We need people to speak up, speak out frequently in public places and family gatherings.
And I think that really sums it up very well, very succinctly. Patty did a great job talking to our caregiver champions about why we created the program, and that we need to work on multiple in multiple ways in order to advocate for Alzheimer's and dementia caregivers and Alzheimer's and dementia caregiving as a whole. So thank you, Patty, and thank you to all the champions who have joined. You can still learn more about the Caregiver Champions program, and the link to that is in the show notes to this video. So please join. All of the first 100 champions who join the program will appear on the cover of our next newsletter. So if you've ever wanted to see yourself on the cover of a newsletter, this is the time to join Caregiver Champions. All right, so that is the second of 3 highlights. And the third highlight is my own, sort of. I made a tutorial to help people register for the walk. I have managed the walk registration process for, this is my 2nd year. And if there's one thing I've heard is that sometimes registering for our walk can be a little bit cumbersome. It's a little bit confusing. So I spent the weekend and I made a little video to help people, to walk people through the process so that registering is easy for you, not difficult. I've taken the confusion out of it. So again, I'm going to show you a little clip of video so that you can you see what kind of video that we're doing here. And if you're thinking about registering for the walk, please watch this tutorial first. Mostly because I worked really hard on it. Thank you. Hold on. Let's make this work. And application window. This is the one. So this is our main walk page. So if you are going to register for the walk, go to our main walk page, which is caringkindnyc.org/walk, and then click this button here. This is, if you can't read it, it says want to register for the walk. This 5-minute tutorial will help. So just click on that. And there we go. And it will launch, and it will launch in a YouTube window. And here we go. Oh, hold on. I bet the audio isn't playing because I've done that before. Let me try that one more time. It is the joys of live streaming. You never know what's going to happen. Here we go. Share audio. Aha, got it. Try it one more time. This tutorial will show you how to register for the CaringKind Alzheimer's Walk. Specifically, this video will help you decide which kind of registration is right for you. One with an individual fundraising page or one with a team fundraising page. So let's get started. Start by opening a browser and navigating to CaringKind's website. From the home page, select the walk option. The big orange button is how you'll register for the walk. You should know that registering for the walk and creating a fundraising page mean essentially the same thing. So select Become a Fundraiser. A window with 3 options pops up, and this is the first and most confusing part of the registration process. All right, so there you go. That gives you a little window into, literally, into the new walk tutorial that we made for you so that we can make registering a little bit easier than in previous years. There's more animation, there's more little fun stuff in there. And over the weekend, we're also going to create 2 more tutorial videos about different aspects of the walk so that you will be a PhD in the CaringKind Alzheimer's Walk. And you can focus on fundraising, you can focus on interacting with all the other people who are doing the walk, and you can also enjoy the programs instead of mucking about the different windows that we have in the system. So I hope you like that video. If you do find that video useful, please let me know. Like the video, leave a comment in the YouTube comments, and let us know if that's the kind of content that you like to see from us. And if it's helped you, register for the walk. So there you go. That was the Champions program, and that was a little snippet of our new walk tutorial. And now, finally, for the moment you've been waiting for, especially I've been waiting for, is a conversation with our conversation with Adina Segal. Adina is our Jewish community outreach social worker at CaringKind. Those are a lot of words, and we're going to talk to her right now about what all of that means. And so, without further ado, actually, a little further ado. Hold on. Let me turn off this window. There we go. Now, without any further ado, please welcome Adina Segal. Hi, Adina. Oh, I can't hear you, Adina. Your sound isn't working.
Better?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
All this technical stuff. It's like
so many buttons. Did you think
Yes.
that being a social worker, you would have to have a master's degree in technology and broadcasting?
No. I think coronavirus kind of has sort of changed everything for everybody. So we all have to kind of be techies and whatever it is that we were doing in our day jobs.
Yeah. Well, before we begin, we're going to talk about you in just a second. But this is a live stream, so we're encouraging everyone to participate in this conversation. So if you have any questions for Adina, if you have any comments for me or Adina, then please right there in the Facebook comments or in the YouTube comments, let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what you'd like to know, and we will answer your questions and respond to your comments as much as we can. We've already got a couple. So Adina, just so you know, oh, that's for me. Hi, Meredith. How are you? Thanks so much for watching. That's so cool.
Cool.
And Christina DiStefano, I loved it. So thorough. I think that was one of those 2 videos. I think that's going to be super fun. What did you think? Did you see the video that I just played, the tutorial?
Yes, I did.
like that?
I love it. It's really fun. And
I learned how to do animation. It was so fun.
Wow, it's cool. You're expanding your skill set.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be creating videos either, but here we go. Again, COVID-19 changing everything for everyone, right? So let's get to you and the work that you do for CaringKind. You've not actually been here that long. When did you start with CaringKind?
I started last July, so it was July 2019. I'm actually working on a grant program from the Sephardic Home Foundation, which provided us with funding to do outreach to the Orthodox and Sephardic Jewish communities. Aside from that, I'm doing general social work as well with everybody. So I sort of have my hands in almost every pot. I also run a support group. What used to be at the office when we were open, now it's on the phone. I run I run a couple of educational seminars as well. So I'm doing a lot.
That is a lot. That is a lot for you. What talk to people about what your main job is when you think about the main priorities that you have in your position at CaringKind. What is that, and what does a regular day look like for you?
So I would say my main role is really a social worker, and what I'm really doing is I'm not really, but I would say the most of the work I'm doing is one-on-one work with families who are affected by a loved one or a family member or a friend, neighbor with dementia and needs help. So out of the many services that we do at CaringKind, social work is really, I think, core. After helpline, you kind of call the helpline. Helpline will either be able to answer your query, or they will send you for further assistance with the social work department. And we're basically here to provide information, emotional support, helping people connect with services that are out in the community. We help people find support groups that within our network, or support groups if they need something specialized that's not. We help them really with almost everything that they need to be networked with, as long as it's available and around. So
And
yeah.
what would you say is your most common request when the helpline does send someone your way who needs support? What would you say is the most common need that people have?
So yeah, so the number one issue I think we get from people who need social work support is around home care. Either how to get home care, or if they have home care, how to get more hours, because sometimes it's just not enough. So what we try to do is we educate them in terms of the different ways you can get home care. We also will help them know what advocacy organizations are around and what the process is. And a lot of what we do one-on-one informs a lot of the other programming that we will do for our education and training. So actually, I thought this would be a great time to plug an upcoming seminar that we're going to be holding.
Sure.
Myself and our other social worker, Serene Nee, will be facilitating a home care webinar, basically navigating the home care process and the home care appeals process. That's going to be on Wednesday, September 2nd, from 2 to 3:30. And I would say that anybody who is interested, or if you know anybody who's interested, to call our helpline to register. Our helpline is 646-744-2986. What I have found also, as I also facilitate our Understanding Dementia seminar, is a lot of times people will come to an educational seminar and feel like they need more one-on-one guidance. Like they'll have the general idea, but maybe their particular situation needs a little more one-on-one attention. So they'll also come to us for social work.
Talk more about the seminar that you've got coming up with Serene about home care. What are the most common issues? Or I mean, that's a popular issue, right? It's a very common issue. So and it's complicated. Like there's so many options. It can be expensive. So how do you walk people through the home care issue? From the original question to selection to how to pay for it.
Well, I actually think most of the time it boils down to how to pay for it. Many of our callers they'll ask, and I'll usually say, well, there are basically two major ways. I mean, really three, but two major ways to obtain home care. The first one, which is the easiest but most expensive, is private pay. If you can privately pay, it's very simple, straightforward. You call an agency, you get your home care. It's great. It happens to be the going rate for home care in New York City right now is anywhere between $27 and $31 an hour. And I would say our average caller cannot necessarily do that. What sometimes can work, and this is sort of why I say there's sometimes three, but it's really two. If somebody has a long-term care policy, that can often cover a private pay agency. So that can work. I've also found not everybody has long-term care coverage. And the final and most popular way of funding home care is through Medicaid. And a lot of people are under the impression that they either have too much in assets or have too much income in order to qualify for Medicaid. On paper, that might be true, but there are ways to obtain Medicaid when you have somebody who has a qualifying illness, and dementia is a qualifying illness, to be able to put excess income into something called a pooled income trust. Assets can be put into asset trusts. That really kind of needs an attorney, but which by the way, we do have legal and financial seminars, which will go through the entire process for everybody,
right?
And let them know what their options are. But I think, at least for my role as a social worker, the most important thing for people to know is that, well, Medicaid is something that is attainable for the person who you are caring for and who needs care. And it's important then there are avenues to get educated about that. So that's really, and if you can take anything away from our discussion as a viewer, that is, I think, one of the major takeaways is that there is care available, and take it.
Yeah. And CaringKind is the first step in that process.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
because you know what you're talking about. I didn't understand a lot of what you said, but I have faith.
Most people, it actually, I mean, I've been doing this work for probably a good, like, 12 years.
Yeah.
I would say it took me a good 2 years to really understand it.
Yeah.
So
You've got a degree, like you've got 18 degrees back there behind
yeah,
you.
I know.
So-
Some of these are my husband's, but
Fine.
but yeah, it's the light is much better in this angle, and I guess
Yeah.
I get to show off.
Yeah,
So-
good for you. I'm very uneducated, as you can see. I have nothing. I have nothing. What? But talk about that. How did you get into this work? I mean, this is a very specialized field. How did you get into social work for Alzheimer's and dementia and issues, and why? Like, what was the motivation here?
You know what? I have always been interested in general with helping people who are affected by disability and illness. That's always kind of been an interest of mine.
Mhm.
And at first I was working with children, but I really wanted to be more working with this population, with the older population.
Mhm.
And I was working for a while at a Jewish organization around end of life issues. Then I worked at an organization called Heights and Hills in Brooklyn. They're actually a partner of ours. They do understanding dementia in Brooklyn for us.
Mhm.
So and I was working in their caregiver program. I think what really works, like what really touches me doing this work, is being able to be there for someone who feels really alone and really cast off and maybe doesn't know where to go, because it is very disorienting when you have these major diagnoses. When you have a dementia diagnosis, it's very disorienting. We often get calls from people who, maybe they were told about us by their neurologist, maybe they weren't, but they basically will tell us that, yeah, my mom, dad, husband, whoever got this diagnosis, but we don't know what to do, and nobody told us what this means and where we should go next, and it's really bewildering. I think for me, it's just really gratifying to be able to help provide that direction and support. And what's really amazing about CaringKind is we're available at any stage of the illness. It could be, calling up, you got the diagnosis yesterday or last week, to somebody whose parents or whoever are in hospice care and in the end stages, and we're able to be there for them. When I was thinking about this presentation, I was thinking about a lot of topics I wanted to touch on, and I mean, coronavirus is another major one, and I think that the one of the major issues that people face is the isolation of being a caregiver. I mean, people with dementia themselves are isolated, and then being a caregiver is just as isolating. People lose friends over this, because peers and friends don't know what to do or what to say, or they're scared. A lot of people somehow think they can catch it. And what struck me with, I think, was it Patty who was talking in the Caregiver
Patty, that's right.
Champions? I think it's great, and it's great that she wants to talk out. What I find is so many caregivers are afraid to speak up and to speak out. There's a shame that it happened to them. There's a shame of certain behaviors that the person they're caring for is showing, and they don't know how to deal with it, and it's misunderstood by a lot of people. Maybe even misunderstood by the actual caregivers.
Yeah.
So we're really here to try to demystify some of that. And even if it's still kind of mystifying, to at least provide the support.
Yeah.
Because there really is not a lot. And yeah, so that's...
it's funny you say that, because I've been at CaringKind for 7 years, and one of my highlights in my 7-year career with CaringKind is about the podcast, right? We created this podcast that I produced it's called Caregiver Storyteller. And the whole purpose is to help people to normalize the idea that Alzheimer's and dementia is real. It's an illness. There should be no stigma associated with it. So just listening to people's personal stories about, how Alzheimer's entered their lives and what they did about it. The purpose of the podcast was to kind of normalize that experience. And one of the highlights that I had at CaringKind happened about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, when a client came to CaringKind and told the social worker on staff that the reason she came in is because she was listening to the episodes of the podcast and she realized that other people are getting help. So there's no reason she shouldn't get help too.
Wow.
And it was like, you never get that kind of feedback. So I was so happy to hear that. And,
I love that story.
And that's an important thing that we do, right?
Absolutely. I think just for people to know that they're not the only ones. Like, you can kind of logically know that, like 5.6 million Americans have Alzheimer's disease. So it affects a lot of people. You may not know that there are people in your circle who are part of those 5.6 million. But once you hear it, once you see it, it sort of decreases some of that stigma. And I think it enables a caregiver to reach out for help and assistance and not try to keep it in and feel like you have to just, take a stiff upper lip and.
Well, and you say that, it makes me, your title at CaringKind is Jewish Community Outreach Social Worker, right? And can you talk for a second about what may be particular to the Jewish community with regard to Alzheimer's and dementia?
Absolutely. Well, there are a few. Some are social and some are religious. Although they're probably both related. One thing about Orthodox Judaism in particular is it's very time bound. Everything you do is based in time. You pray 3 times a day at different times. Saturday is the Sabbath, and we don't do things on that day. There's a certain rhythm to each month and to different holidays, and which is great. I mean, it can be great for a lot of people. I think when it comes to somebody who has dementia and they lose track of that time and lose that orientation, it can be really difficult because it no longer, that all those things that were significant either no longer have meaning, or every day is one of those days. And say something like on the Sabbath, Orthodox Jews are not going to do things that utilize electricity. They're not going to go driving to anywhere. And so, we do have cases. I have had cases where, you have a spouse and they need to go to the doctor, but the spouse with dementia thinks that it's Shabbos, it's the Sabbath, and they are horrified that their spouse is transgressing. It really becomes a big issue. And I think, and even just speaking about that shame, having somebody who understands the rhythm and how that works is really, really helpful in terms of strategizing how to deal with that, because it can be really hard. So that's one example.
That's a great one.
It's and I think you probably see this with a lot of cultures that are also more cerebral, where the highest thing you can do is sit and learn a text. It's not just, I mean, that is very endemic to Judaism, but it's endemic to other cultures as well. And once you start losing that capacity, there's a lot of shame and a lot of guilt. And I think also just having somebody who has that familiarity can be really helpful. I mean, I think in general, and this I think is also something CaringKind really strives for, is when someone is first diagnosed, and I mentioned how disorienting it is, having somebody speak either your language, either your literal language or your cultural language is really helpful. It kind of gives you a sense of certainly being understood, of being, I don't want to say home because it's not quite home, but like that's the first thing that's coming to my mind. Like, someone's got your back and you can kind of just ease in and go for help and know that you will be responded to in an understanding way. And I think we do that with all of our outreach efforts, with all of our communities, and with we have Asian outreach and African American outreach and Hispanic, Latinx outreach, and it's so crucial. I mean, I see it with with all of my clients, even my, even those not within my Jewish outreach
world.
It's really important. It's really important that people know that you get them.
Yeah. I shared one of my proudest moments at CaringKind, and I'm going to ask you, put you on the spot and share one of yours. And it doesn't have to be, during your time at CaringKind, although that would be great. But can you think of a time, like what is one of your proudest moments as a social worker about how you helped someone?
Oh, I actually think, when I think about it, just during COVID, I think that it has been my proudest moments. It's real, and it's been really hard. It's hard. You're at home. You don't have the camaraderie of your office,
right? And
you are I'm getting calls from people who have even less support than they were having beforehand.
Yeah.
They were, that maybe, I mean, now things have kind of shifted a little bit, but in March and April, like, people weren't able to have home care, even if they wanted it. Many of them didn't want it, and they just said, don't come. But a lot of people needed it, and it was really hard because they couldn't get it. And so you had caregivers who were 24/7 at home with people who had dementia, who also weren't able to go to their day programs or anything. And it was hard. It was certainly probably the most emotionally difficult time to do this work. I have a case that I worked with where we helped. We were able to provide a grant for short-term respite for the time, because her aides basically bailed out on her, and she was able to. First, she was able to find a replacement aide. The replacement aide bailed out on her, and she eventually was able to find an adequate replacement. Being able to give that grant was really crucial to her. But what she kept calling me back for just emotional support. Her mom was at the end stages of life.
Yeah.
And she wasn't really sure about how to navigate things with medications and things with, hospice. She was under the impression that if she took hospice, her mom would no longer have her Medicaid. So I had to do some education around that. And it was really, what was really touching to me, because I found in not just even with this case, with a lot of cases, you feel so like there's only so much you can do, and is this really helpful? And I actually went to the office one day, because we can kind of sort of go to the office on a staggered schedule. So, and I got a thank you note from her, and she was really thankful for the assistance that we provided and for being able to come to us for support. She didn't really have a family that she could reach out to, so having us was really crucial. I have to say that was definitely one of my proudest moments.
Well, that's a good moment. Absolutely. And thank you for that work. Thank you for being there and doing the work that you do, especially under COVID-19. It's an incredibly stressful time for everyone. Before we have to wrap this up, so before we go, is there anything, one final thought that you want to share with people, or one thing you want to make sure they know?
Yeah, I mean, if I haven't browbeaten everybody on this live stream enough, it's really call and reach out and encourage people who might be in a situation where they're caregiving for someone with dementia to reach out and get help. It really does take a village to care for really anyone. Not even a child, anyone. And we are part of that village. And please let spread the word. Because there is help, and you might be surprised at, what seemingly seems small can really mean a lot to a caregiver.
Yeah. Well, that's a great way to end. Adina Segal, Jewish Community Outreach Social Worker for CaringKind. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being on the live stream. Thanks for all the work that you're doing during this COVID-19 era and otherwise. It's been delightful to have you on.
Thank you. It was delightful to be on.
All right.
And thanks for doing all of this work with the live streaming.
Sure. I'm stuck at home. I have nothing else to do.
Oh, this is true.
All right.
Well, this is awesome. I love the scroll. It's just, it looks so.
I know. I'm
like so important.
You are important. Absolutely. 100%. All right, Adina, thank you so
All right.
much.
Well, thank you.
We'll see you later. And that was Adina Segal. She is amazing, as you can tell. What I want you to know is, oh, there are some comments here. Oh, sorry, Adina, Jed Levine. I'm going to add you back in. Is that okay?
Sure.
I just wanted you to see that Jed Levine wrote a comment to
Oh.
you. So proud of the work that Adina is doing. Nice job. And
Thank
also
you.
your coworker Serene said thank you for being there in the village for our community. So I just wanted to
Thank
make
you,
sure that you
guys.
saw that. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Adina. So again, that was Adina. She's actually going to be on a COVID-19 and caregiving panel that we have planned for Walk Day, which is October 11th. 2020. It's a Sunday. We're going to have an afternoon of programming at the walk, which is going to be online. We're doing it in 3 parts. We're going to start in the morning online. We're going to move into the real world and ask you to walk in your neighborhoods wearing your Alzheimer's walk shirt. I am far too short to be. I should get the logo up here on the shoulders for those of us who are 5'6" and under. And in the afternoon, we're going to ask you to come back online after you walk in your neighborhood and join us in a live stream. We're going to have a caregiving and COVID-19 panel discussion featuring Adina Segal. She's going to have a lot of good information to share. Speaking of which, please, if you haven't registered for the walk yet, please do so. CaringKindNYC.org/walk. The link is in the show description. And our gala is coming up. All sorts of things are happening. Please look at all the links in the show description of this video. Just click on show more and all those links will pop up. And we do this live stream every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, New York City. Please join us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I got them all. We are on every platform you want to be on. So until next week, thank you very much for all of your support. Our thanks to our donors and our institutional partners. Thanks to our staff like Adina, volunteers, and board members, everyone who works together to make CaringKind happen. Thank you very much. We'll see you next Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Thank you very much, everybody.